feature presentation.
Welcome back to another Untitled movie review from Tiff 22. I am one of your hosts, Matt Rohrbeck, alongside he's allergic to tomatoes, but he is tomato meter approved, Eric Marchin.
Matt, that was so suspenseful, that intro. I'm on pins and needles, Matt. Pins and needles.
Man, we're back at home. It's a nice, cool fall day almost. I don't think summer's technically over, or did it end today? I have no idea.
I thought today was the first day of fall.
Is it? Well, that's perfect for the weather that we're having. But we're back at home. TIFF 22 is in the past, but we're still going to be covering a ton of things from the festival. We have reviews up right now for People's Choice winner, The Fabelmans, Glass Onion, The Whale, Brother, Bros, I Like Movies, The Banshees of Inisherin, Triangle of Sadness, Empire of Light, Pearl. We have a wrap-up show over on Untitled Movie Podcast that covers every film that we saw at the Toronto International Film Festival, as well as our experience as a whole. But today, yes, we are reviewing Daniel Gold. Fuck, I already fucked this up. Daniel Goldhaber or Goldhaber's.
Just call him DH.
DG, wouldn't it?
Oh, fuck. See, even I'm screwing up because I'm thinking the Haber part, right? Because that's where we're having trouble.
It's not two different names. It's
Sorry,
Haber
Daniel.
or Haber. Daniel, let us know.
Let us know, and thank you for your film. We appreciate it.
We are reviewing
Kiss ass
DG's.
Early on.
We're reviewing DG's How to Blow Up a Pipeline, which was picked up by Neon during the festival.
And Elevation Pictures in Canada will be distributing it.
Cool.
Which is very exciting.
Eric, a movie we saw pretty late in the festival. We started to hear good buzz early on when it had its premiere and its early screenings, as well as Neon picking it up. I know you liked DG's first film, Cam, quite a bit. But this is a movie I saw like very late. I got up at very late in the festival, but got up very early. For like an 8:30 a.m. screening of it. And I texted you immediately and I was like, there was one more screening on the last day of the festival and it was the last film you saw. And I was like, you got to get a ticket to it. And I think you got like one of the last kind of press tickets and things for the movie, which I'm so glad you did, because this ended up being, spoilers, one of my favorite films of the festival. I absolutely love this movie.
Yeah, it's an excellent ecological environmental thriller, and it's one of those films where as my dogs are barking, they're as excited as we are to talk about it, but it's a film that has something to say, but it's also basically constructed in a manner that is as intense and exciting as any action movie you could watch on a big screen. And even though the stakes are considered somewhat small scale compared to a Mission Impossible or any kind of Marvel movie or what have you, there's something about the character dynamics and the editing and the tension of sort of the payoffs of certain moments that will put you in the mindset viscerally of what is going on with these characters. So specifically, you have a ragtag group of protesters and people that have been affected by this big oil company, and they're planning to blow up a pipeline in West Texas. A lot of the film will explore the character dynamics, whether they're couples or individuals, in sequences that kind of show you where they're coming from in their backstory. And even though it does break from the present moment of setting up and creating these bombs that will destroy this pipeline, it never misses a step in terms of its pacing. Like, you're never thrown off by jumping into a character like Dwayne's backstory, who's kind of the weird outlier of this group, an older guy who's kind of like your classic looking red all-blooded American type sort of guy who's dealing with his land being polluted and his family having to grow up in an environment that's becoming more difficult to overall live in and prosper in any way whatsoever. Then you have a younger generation where they're coming in, whether it's they're affected by it personally or by health or what have you. I don't want to give anything away, so I am trying to dance across this and be kind of more vague in my description overall. But what is so thrilling about it is that over the course of this movie, as we learn about the characters, as we learn about the predicament that they're in, as they go through the minutia of pulling off what essentially is kind of like a heist movie in a lot of
Yeah.
ways, um, is that it's so suspenseful. Every
Yeah.
moment is considered and not wasted, and you feel the tension build to the point of where I think you mentioned it in your tweet. You're literally just on the edge of your seat, gripping
Hmm.
your theater
Your
chair,
armrest. Yeah.
and wondering what is going to happen, and are these characters going to pull it off. And there's a great conversation even about what they're doing is wrong, and whether or not they'll be looked at as terrorists or folk heroes, and how
Hmm.
they'll affect people that are kind of, doing the 9 to 5 job and need gas to get to work. So it's a very
The
conscientious,
collateral damage of it all. Yeah.
yeah, it's a conscientious effort. It's a collaborative effort. Daniel Goldhaber was there at that final screening, and he even said that this is, not a film made by one person, that it is a collective in the way that is represented even on screen, with these people coming together to do something to possibly change the world and have an impact, like an actual impact that's reactionary to the times that we live in now. I said it a lot in the regular show. It's basically like, putting cheese on your broccoli. You're getting something that's
Yeah.
good for you, but
With a great
tastes
message, but
it tastes good as well, and it's
yeah.
it's 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 a fun movie in a lot of ways.
Yeah, weirdly enough, I totally agree with everything that you just said. I think it's one of the most expertly crafted thrillers I've seen in like a really, really long time. I love the cinematography. Looks like it's shot either on 16 or 35. I think 16, but it has this really nice filmic look to it. The synthy score is incredible by Gavin Brivik. The editing you said by Daniel Garber is, I think, incredible. Just the way that this film is structured, and like you said, that could easily go a different way where you're ripping people out of the present and showing these kind of flashbacks of why these people are coming together. Could, like, we've seen that a lot, but the way that this film does it, both with its, it's not necessarily chapter based, it's character based storytelling, but like I think that character based storytelling really kind of drives this film and the suspense of it, right? Because like at first this group feels like a bunch of people that should not, you know, you said a ragtag group, like these people, you're like, this doesn't make sense that all these people are working together. But I love that the way the film is structured to kind of show why they come together, and even that, and everyone having their own reason that is very different, but all because of this one oil company in Texas. I think was fantastic. And each time you flash back, you want to learn about that character and why they got involved. And like it reminded me of those bomb sequences of something like the Hurt Locker from Catherine Bigelow, but like even done in an even more suspenseful way, where like every character feels both expendable and important. And because they're just it's in a smaller movie where it's like you said, it's as thrilling as like any big blockbuster, but at any moment you could think one of these kids could blow up. Right. And I think that adds to it, right? Or like how they're going to get out of this, or how they're going to accomplish their final task. And I just think like you said, like the message is important. The social message in the movie, and like and what it is saying, but it's just a thrilling, exciting movie at its core. And I was completely enthralled with it from start to finish. I think like its twists feel earned. Every character feels like they have a great reason of being involved. I think it cuts at the exact best moments to even add to the suspense. So that goes to that excellent editing of it, of like it knows exactly like, okay, moment happens, let's snap to black, tell you a character title, and then we're going to show you that person's backstory or something like that. And yeah, man, it was kind of one of my favorite movies of recent memory. Like this and Glass Onion, like I just was obsessed with at the festival. It was awesome.
Yeah, and another movie that I do think it does take some inspiration from is William Friedkin's Sorcerers. Even in that synthy score that Tangerine Dream provided for that movie, and the idea of this group of guys transporting dynamite from one location to another, and anything, even the slightest sort of movement or bump in the road could spell disaster for the group, and you're rooting for them to make it, but at the same time you also know that like it's going to be a really rough terrain to travel across. And with this, there are moments where, you know, the Forrest Goodluck character specifically, you know, he's basically the chemist of the group, and there are moments with him where he's dealing directly with the substances to make the chemical compounds that will be explosive. And there's just one moment, I don't want to give anything away, but there's a laugh that he has after doing something, and it's that laugh that you need to kind of help
Yeah.
break the tension, a moment of levity and release that is so perfectly timed. And it's one of those, it's why you love movies, because it's just a magical piece of filmmaking where it's just like, okay, like that clicks, and that reaction that the audience has to it is just right there with them. You can hear the gasps and the sighs of relief. It's incredible to watch, and it does have that kind of like political thriller aspect of 70s films like Alan J. Bakula, who, you know, did the Parallax View, and even something more recently like, you know, this would make an interesting double bill with Kelly Reichardt's Night Moves, you know, in terms of looking at something that's a little bit more restrained and kind of subdued, where this is more heightened and aware, but also still very much has a message that is getting through the aesthetic and the style. It's again a microcosm of, you know, a major action set piece, but it's done so well in the moving parts with the characters and the performances, and the editing, the timing, and just how everything comes together in a way that feels organic to the story being told in the most thrilling way possible. You know, there's a lot of really great up and coming actors
I was just
in
gonna bring that
here.
up. Yeah.
You know, I mentioned Forrest Goodluck, who's probably best known as playing Leonardo DiCaprio's son in The Revenant, is excellent in this. You have someone like Jamie Lawson, who was just in The Batman with Robert Pattinson as the mayor, running for mayor.
Oh, right.
She's
Yeah.
really good in that. Sasha
Yeah.
Lane,
Lane,
who's
who's
in
in Loki.
Loki and American Honey.
Yeah.
You have
Lucas
Kristen
Gage, who's in Euphoria, right?
yeah,
Like,
Kristen Froseth, who was just in Lena Dunham's Sharp Stick. So it's a really great up and coming cast that, you know, people will recognize, but they're not names that are necessarily distracting to the
yeah.
plot itself. Where it's like you kind of, you see these people, it's like, oh, I might recognize you from this, or I might recognize this actor from this movie,
Yeah,
but
Marcus
they
Scribner, I want to give a shout out to. He was on like he did like 8 seasons of Blackish and then moved on to the sequel series too. So like all these people are these kind of younger, you know, up and coming actors that you might recognize from something that you've seen them in, right?
Yeah, and he has one of the best moments in the movie where he meets the Dwayne character for the first time, and how that is also weirdly funny, with how you have like a documentary being made
Right.
about this family, you know, having to live, you know, with a pipeline going through their property. And so like that moment I feel is also as a weird sort of commentary on how documentarians can sometimes be full of themselves, especially
Yeah.
when you're a student documentarian and you think that, like, you know, you're solving uh, you know, the problems of the world by making this movie, and you're kind of being full of yourself without ever, you know, considering the subject that you're talking to.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't want to say much more about the movie because I feel like it is a movie that you should just kind of try not to even watch a trailer or anything. Like when Neon puts one out, I'm sure they'll put a very well crafted trailer and kind of marketing around this. But I think they got like a sleeper hit on their hands. Like I can see why they picked this up right away. I don't know when they're going to be releasing it. We were kind of hypothesizing that, and it could be next year. I don't know if they'll try to rush it out for this fall season. I highly doubt that. But I don't know what your thoughts on that were, Eric.
Yeah, I think it'll probably be a spring release. Give it time to find an audience. It's not a movie that necessarily has to be released now in order to contend for awards, even though I think it is worthy for editing, directing, best
Adapted
picture.
screenplay.
Yeah, like all these things. Like it is an awards worthy film, but it like The Hurt Locker. The Hurt Locker was released, you know, a year after it played the festival season, and it still, you know, was nominated and won best picture and directing. So, you know, not that it's going to take the same trajectory, but it's still, like even if it doesn't get nominated for awards, that doesn't matter. I think
Yeah.
it's a film that needs to find its audience first and foremost, and if you give it a place where it can have time and not get lost in a shuffle, whether it be you know against big summer blockbusters or awards contenders, I think it would do really well in
Like a
the late
March or
winter or early spring.
yeah.
And it will probably be one of those movies like Everything Everywhere All at Once, where it continues to grow over time and
I
more
could
people
see
that see it and
no
recommend
keep
it,
yeah.
and yeah.
I could see it playing South by Southwest because of the Texas kind of angle as well, and then maybe premiering right after that, late March or early April or something too. But yeah, man, I think it's worthy of all that stuff too. I don't know if it's too small or anything like that, but like I hope Neon gives it a huge push when it does come out, and because I really this will be one of those movies that I am screaming from the rooftops about. You know what I mean? Like, and I know it was shout out to Peter Kaplowski because he was that first guy to kind of, I think it was him who programmed it right in platform, or
Yeah,
he
and
yeah.
platform, well, that's something we should also talk about. Like, there's always that
It could
film
have
and
used that boost from
platform.
winning, but I'm sure
Yeah,
Rice Boy Sleeps is great. We didn't get to catch it at the festival, but
but it already
yeah.
won. I mean, being picked up by Neon,
Yeah.
everybody. I don't think there's really anybody that hasn't seen it that's had a negative review. Like, it's one of
I
those
saw one
movies.
tweet from something Neva
Okay, all
shared
right,
with me,
right.
but
But
anyways.
but but anyways, I think for the most part, everybody that has seen it or has recommended it to somebody else or saw it during the festival
Even the curmudgeons.
have loved it, or at least
Yeah.
appreciated it. And that is saying something, because during a festival you can get that kind of festival bubble kind of reaction to things. But I do feel this is a movie outside of the festival that will speak to a lot of people, and kind of feels like it is talking about a generation dealing with the fallout of you know capitalism, and the destruction of the environment in a way that isn't just you
A
know dep-
message movie or
a
just like
message movie,
yeah.
but isn't just depressing. Like, the world,
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like
we've destroyed the world so much that there's nothing to do. It's like, okay, there are still people out there that
fighting
can
the
make a
good fight.
difference. And it would
Yeah.
weirdly make it, I mean, both being Neon movies as well, it would weirdly make a good double bill with something like All the Beauty and the Bloodshed, where you look at
Yeah.
like how protesters, you know in a grassroots kind of element, do something to change the world, whether it be radical or inspirational, or both.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. If you kind of align with how I feel about movies and like things that I would say are extremely my shit, which is like chapter based storytelling. I say it's character based storytelling. I love the nerdy things like the font used as well as the title card and the credits and the synthy sound, like just right from the start, Eric, I'm like, I'm fucking in when that title card pops up and like those opening moments and how the score is used and that grainy cinematography and shit. I'm like, this is absolutely my jam and I'm all in on this. And luckily it delivered for the rest of the movie because like, and even things that could have been cheap, like I don't want to get too into specifics, but like twists and stuff like that, like feel earned, even though you might see them coming, but then they play out slightly different than what you expected. Like I really feel like even those didn't feel cheap or anything like that. Like it does feel very earned and true to the characters that they kind of set up in these flashbacks. So yeah, I just think it's an excellent movie. I'm gonna give it a 4.5 out of 5. I could even be persuade
Pursued.
uh
Daniel's
pursued
gonna
if
pursue you to give
if
it a.
yeah, if Neon sends me some cool shit, maybe I'll no I mean persuade
I
to
think
give
it's
it
a
a
movie you
5.
need to see again, and I
Yeah.
think, like, the way we're talking about it now, it could easily be a 5-star film, in the sense that,
Yeah.
like, if we saw it outside of the festival, being I'm so happy I saw it. This was the last movie I saw, because I went out on such a high note with this
Yeah.
film, and talking to you about it, I like it even more. So I'm also going to give it a 4.5. And I also recommend people go check out Cam, which is available on Netflix, and
Yeah,
check
I
it.
do really want to.
Yeah, yeah, it's one of those movies where, like, I can't wait to see it again, and also I'm just excited for other people to see it and
Yeah, I
join in
can't
on
wait
the
to
conversation.
tell everyone to watch it, right? Like it will be one of those movies that is a smaller film, you know, that I'll tell everyone, even if they're not movie people, to go see it. I'll just be like, if you have a chance, just go see this movie and just trust me. You might recognize a few people from other things, but it doesn't have like huge names or a big like. I mean, DG is gonna have a good career, I think, but I'm all about this movie. So thank you all for listening or watching. We really do appreciate it. You, like I mentioned, you can check out all those other TIFF reviews over on Untitled Movie Reviews or on YouTube. At Untitled Movie Podcast on YouTube, as well as if you just want a one-stop shop for everything, head over to our Letterboxd HQ, which is Untitled_movies. And as always, you can find more of my work around the web, but mostly at untitledmoviepodcast.com. And you can follow me on all those social medias at Matt Rohrbeck.
And I'm Eric March, and you can find more of my video reviews on rogerstv.com/cinemascene. There is a truncated episode of the TIFF wrap-up on that site that will be available very soon, with Matt and I talking about our favorite films. So if you don't watch the 2+ hour episode, or listen to it on our podcast, or want to get another version of it, it's there. And I will be posting about it on the social medias when it's available on EM6211.
Until next time.
In the words of David Wilcox, I'm laying pipe all night long. It's an 80s Canadian song.
Thanks.